Hello everyone, it's been a while. A very long while, in fact, but that's just how life is sometimes. It hits you with reality and oftentimes makes it hard to commit. Or maybe that's just because I'm lazy. Anyway, while I was away, I have made plans and wrote down scripts for video ideas, but I've never fully committed to them. It just never made it to the final cut, I guess. Regardless, there have been a few new shows on Netflix that have come and gone, with some even on their way, and I'm excited to talk about them on this channel. For now, I'll be talking about what I've seen the past few months in terms of animated series on Netflix, and what I'm looking forward to seeing as well. For the previous months, aside from my usual anime watching, I've gotten the pleasure to watch a few new shows from Netflix originals, such as DOTA Dragon's Blood.
Ilang libong taon na, sa gitna ng Night Silver Woods. May iniwang regalo ni Maine sa templo, ang makapangyarihang lotus. Kaya pag dinala ng lalaking ito ang bulaklak sa mundo,
DOTA Dragon's Blood is an anime series based on the game developed and published by Valve called, Dota 2. I'll spare you the long history of Dota and its vast popularity in the Philippines for another video because personally I have a lot to say on the subject as a storytime perspective. But the SparkNotes version of it is that Dota 2 is very much embedded into the culture, time, and society of the Philippines.
Inihahandog ng Netflix ang nakalutang na katanungan sa loob ng 10 taon. Malalaman na ang kasagutan ngayon.
Anong pipiliin mo? Dota o ako? Anong mas gusto mo? Kapag kasama ka, yan ang nasa isip.
Now, despite growing up with Dota being a well-talked topic, whether loved or disdained, I never actually played the game myself. I just never got into the MOBA genre in my childhood. Nowadays, I've dipped my toes into mobile MOBA games, specifically LOL Wild Rift, but I still don't understand what I'm doing most of the time while playing the game. While I was watching this series with my siblings, I consulted my brother, who was a regular and active player on Dota, for his opinion on how they handled the game lore and story. From his perspective, when he had the time to bother to talk to me, he said it was satisfactory, although his tone hid things from me. You know that I know something you don't kind of tone? I do that as well. For someone like me, some of the nuances with the story and the series itself was lost on me. Specifically, the conflict of Selemene and the other elves from the other tribes. I wish I had more context because the show does not give new people that sort of whoa feeling that those who know the lore would. After watching the show, I read up on the characters introduced in Dragon's Blood, specifically the playable characters, as I took a liking to the Invoker, who, by the way, I can't believe his real name is. I think it's because I have a thing for mysterious, long-haired characters with a probable depressing backstory. Despite the lack of a satisfying conclusion to the first season of Dota Dragon's Blood, as an ignorant viewer, I know that this isn't the end, and I look forward to the second season that will delve deeper into the story and lore of the game. Who knows, maybe it might just push me to try Dota 2. The latest season of Castlevania was quite a roller coaster. But before I continue, feel free to skip this segment if you have not seen the show yet. The animation really did not hold back with the fight scenes, and some of the interactions with the characters had really solidified their progress from the first season to the final one. I actually have a lot of things I want to say with the entire series, but again, that would be a video for another time. I actually have a script already for the series, but I haven't reworked it to include the new and final season. While I feel like most of the characters have their stories concluded and done with, I still feel iffy about some characters such as Alucard, Sifa, and some of the other characters that I just feel like they reached another character development. And if Castlevania went for another season, I feel like they could have at least given it some sort of like resolution. But perhaps I felt as though they still had more to show and tell the audience. Still, I'm a bit sad that the show is being cancelled due to outside influences that aren't due to the merits of the show itself, but from people behind the scene. I do hope that the rumors of a spin-off with a brand new cast will still bring the world of Castlevania into the new generation. Trese is an upcoming Netflix series based on the award-winning Filipino comic created by writer Bujete Tan, artist Cajo Baldissimo. It's a story that revolves around Alexandra Trese, who is a supernatural detective based in Manila, the capital of the Philippines, by the way. Now, one of the reasons why I'm excited for this is because as a Filipino, we rarely do have animated series that are dedicated to our culture, our people, our stories, from the creative minds of Filipinos themselves to be promoted in an international scene. We won't talk about. We also had Barangay 143, which was lauded as the first Filipino anime series, but I've never seen the show. But maybe someday I'll tackle it and review it here on the channel. I've never actually read the comics, so I have no idea if the story is my kind of style. But based on the trailer, I've already seen a lot of stuff that I very much enjoy in the usual anime that I watch. I actually discovered that Netflix released the Trese trailer because Twitter trended it, and when I went to check it out, the first thing I stumbled into were arguments over the dubbing of the show and which one was better. I understood why they were arguing. Filipino dubbed anime doesn't really have the best reputation, or at least I was never a fan of the dubbing as a kid because the syncing and the voice choice never sat right with me compared to, the original dubbing, from the country that the show came from. However, watching Trese first in Filipino and then in English, I actually loved how the voices synced with the characters. I have a bit of a gripe with Lisa Soberano as Trese because actually she felt off to me as I watched it as the second time. Trese, as shown in the trailer, comes off as a gruff, determined Jessica Jones kind of character. I don't really know how to describe it. In the trailer, Lisa's voice doesn't really convey that sort of character I've seen in the trailer. Again, I've never read the comics, never. I'm not gonna research it, I'm just gonna go into Trese blind. But it seems like they pulled no expense to add all the Filipino A-list celebrities to dub this. But who knows, I haven't seen or heard a lot of anything that Lisa has done career-wise, so I have no preconceived notions of the range her acting can go, voice-wise. It's not just with Lisa. It goes for all the star-studded Filipino dubbing cast. It's set to release on June 11, so keep an eye out for it, international crew. Arcane is one of the upcoming shows on Netflix, and if you know it, then you are gonna be excited for it as well. It is another game adapted into an animated series. Arcane is going to be an adaptation of some of the lore in League of Legends. Like I said earlier, I'm not a big fan of the MOBA scene, but even I'm not unaware of the influence that League of Legends has had. I've gotten into it more recently due to League of Legends Wild Rift, and have been watching all the trailers, even the spin-off games, reading the comics, listening to all their songs, that kind of thing. I've watched a lot of LOL YouTubers discuss the lore and everything about LOL, Necrete, Scooch, to name a few. Based on the trailer, Arcane is an origin story of two champions in the game, namely Jinx and V. As it's set in Piltover, there will probably be other champions who will be introduced in the story who are native to the city and the region as well. There hasn't been a specific date for its release so far from what I've known, but we just know that it's going to be released this year in the late fall. Thank you so much for listening to this video. If you came from my older videos, you might have noticed the name change. I've decided to change it to reflect the name of this channel's mascot, Mephi. The girl, the demon chick I've, been showing on screen. I'm thinking of doing more minimal editing type videos, sort of like podcasts, live streams. But so far, I'm sure no one wants to hear my incoherent rambling, especially if I don't have a script to go on. I can just repeat the same shit over and over again. And I doubt anyone wants to hear that. Anyway, that's all for now. See you in the next video, whenever that may be.